Tensions rise on Capitol Hill as Cory Mills fires back against shocking allegations from Nancy Mace, turning a routine hearing into a high-stakes battle over credibility, military service, and political attacks.
Gentleman yields back. Chair, and I recognize the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Mills.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, General Kane, and the Honorable. We'd love to just thank you for this opportunity, for coming here, and for continuing to push forward the warfighter ethos, for making sure that the realities, regardless of what's said in here, are the realities on the battlefield that we're getting day in and day out. I ask the Chairman for unanimous consent to enter a couple of documents into record.
Without objection.
I'll be entering into record my DD-214 published in 2003 indicating my Bronze Star and other wartime medals and decorations. I'd also like to present the document provided by the Department of the Army in 2024 that also authorizes vets and verifies all medals and or awards, as well as a document by Paul Savitsky, former Special Forces member, that annotates the 2 explosions that I was involved in Baghdad.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Secretary, as you know, you're pretty familiar with the ideas of slander, defamation, and attack on the character. So I apologize for having to take that moment to be able to go ahead and correct the record, but it was necessary. I would also note that my OMPF file that was FOIA'd by the Department of the Army, or that was FOIA'd, was actually released by the Department of the Army the same day as yours was. So everything is sitting on the actual website itself if people aren't too lazy to look at it. Secretary Hegseth, thank you for your testimony and for the time that you have here today. As the Chairman noted, President Trump's incredible $1.5 trillion investment into our national defense is set to reverse the years of atrophy that our defense industrial base has faced over time, especially small, innovative businesses and needs of a solid demand that signal that our War Department is ready to buy American. I witnessed myself as I was with you in Merritt Island, Florida, as we went on the Arsenal tour, and unfortunately I didn't get to do the cool things like fly in a jet really quick and buzz around while we were all actually doing hard work here. But I wanted to just say, Mr. Secretary, that can you detail for us how the Department of War has eased the path for American small businesses to contract with the department?
Well, Congressman, thank you for the question. That has been core to our mission, is the recognition that we have a problem at the department, previously the Department of Defense and now the Department of War, and that problem is us. That problem is our bureaucracy, our process that is meant to block out new competitors and protect existing primes. And there are great primes that provide great products, and we continue to support them. But to build an arsenal of freedom, you need more than just 5 or more than just 6. You need an entire network of small, medium, and large companies contributing to the U.S. manufacturing and supply base, delivering weapons ahead of schedule and under budget that don't only have defense business, but also commercial business. And when we need something, they can move quickly and adapt accordingly because there are multiple options. So our acquisitions transformation, a speech and memo and directive we rolled out on that, the Arsenal of Freedom tour, going out there with the hard hats and saying, you are part of the workforce, you have the backs of our warriors, just changing the entire dynamic to say, you shouldn't have to sue the department in order to get a contract with the department. We're opening the doors with small business loans, whether it's SIBR-SITR or DIU or OSC. The Office of Strategic Capital hasn't even been discussed today. $20 billion that gets levered into $200 billion so that companies can invest in ways they otherwise wouldn't have the capital to do, and it's not on our balance sheet. So we've got businessmen, the Deputy Secretary of War, who should be deemed a national asset for what he understands and how he works. We're opening the aperture of our department in historic ways, and I think I know our manufacturing base is going to see the benefit from it.
Well, thank you so much. I also want to thank you for your due diligence in making sure that task force audit will come forward, and we will see the Department of War for the first time in 2028 with a clean audit, something that the previous administration was never able to do, and many before that. I believe it was 28 years, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Secretary, since we've had a clean audit.
That is right, and this is not a thing we just announced. We've been doing it for 15 months. Jay's been integrally involved. We just launched a joint task force audit. We are going to pass an audit as a department by 2028 because the taxpayers.
And this is why we're so honored to have you as our Secretary of War, and General Kane. We're honored to have you as well, leading our forces. Mr. Secretary, with the last few seconds I have, from ships to bombs to bullets, our industrial base is in dire need of support. Even as these defense markers are strengthened, as a former small business owner, I understand how bottlenecks can hold up good contracts and move from the speed at which we need for our warfighters. Mr. Secretary, can you detail how the department has moved to promote diversity in our defense industrial base?
I can't detail in 12 seconds.
Well, if you will, can we submit for record?
Sorry, every aspect is opening it up to provide as much running room for new entrants as possible.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. That I yield back.
This moment is about more than just a policy hearing. It's about reputation, credibility, and how quickly political conflicts can escalate into personal battles. At the center of it is Cory Mills, who took the unusual step of formally entering documents into the congressional record to defend his military service. That alone tells you how serious the situation had become. Why does that matter? Because in Washington, Especially among lawmakers with military backgrounds, service records carry enormous weight. They're not just credentials. They're part of a person's identity and credibility. So when allegations surface questioning that record, the response tends to be immediate and forceful. Mills made it clear he wasn't going to let those claims go unanswered. By submitting official documentation, his DD-214, award verifications, and supporting statements, he aimed to shut down any doubts and put the issue on record permanently. And that move sends a message. This isn't just political disagreement. This is personal. Now, while the headlines focus on the clash with Nancy Mace, the broader hearing continued, shifting into defense policy and military readiness. Mills used his time not only to defend himself, but also to pivot into a larger discussion about strengthening the U.S. defense industrial base. That's a key issue that often flies under the radar, but has massive implications for national security. The conversation centered on how the Pentagon, referred to here as the Department of War, is trying to open up opportunities for small businesses to compete for defense contracts. And that's where things get interesting. For years, critics have argued that defense contracting is dominated by a handful of large companies, making it difficult for smaller, innovative firms to break in. According to the testimony, that's exactly the problem the department is now trying to fix. The idea is to create a more competitive, flexible system, one where smaller companies can contribute to innovation, production, and supply chains without being shut out by bureaucracy. That's a big shift in approach. Instead of relying heavily on a few major contractors, the strategy being described here focuses on expanding the pool, bringing in small, medium, and large businesses to build what they call an arsenal of freedom. If done effectively, that could mean faster innovation, more competition, and potentially lower costs. But as always, the challenge is execution. Because opening the system is one thing, making sure it actually works is another.